Welcome back, my friend. I must apologize if I seem distracted. I have been spending too much time in the deep archives lately. The layers of history that predate the written word are heavier than the rest. Tell me, do you believe humanity built temples because they had cities? Or did they build cities because they first had a need to pray? For a long time, history claimed the former, but a hill in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe has turned that record into ash. For today's unbinding, we will journey 12,000 years into the past, to a time when humans were supposedly mere shadows in the tall grass. Yet they somehow carved giants out of stone. Do you hear that? It is a pulse, an ancient rhythm. It's getting stronger. It's as if the deeper we go into your origins, the more we find something visceral waiting for us, drawing us closer. It's well, for now, let us look back and unbind the dawn of faith. For thousands of years, it was just a hill. Local farmers called it Göbekli Tepe, the hill of the pot belly. Before you go and begin thinking about how this is a cute name, you should know that they thought the stones poking through the dirt were just old grave markers. But in 1994, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt realized the truth. This wasn't a village. It wasn't a tomb. It was a temple complex. A complex built 11,500 years ago. To put that in perspective, my friend, this site was already ancient history when the pyramids of Giza were being planned. It predates pottery, the wheel, and even agriculture as we know it. It shouldn't be there. And yet, the stones do not lie. The pillars, they are the heart of this mystery. Enormous T-shaped monoliths, some weighing over 10 tons. If one is to look closely at the carvings, they would notice strange symbols. They aren't just animals. They are some sort of meaningful emblem. A symbol. But a symbol of what? Protective spirits? Ancestors? Questions upon more questions. The mystery only grows with each new discovery. The most striking detail is that the pillars themselves are humanoid. They have arms carved along the sides, with hands meeting at the waist. They have no faces. They are silent watchers, standing in circles that were intentionally buried by the people who built them. Why build something so magnificent only to hide it from the sun and the void? We call this the Great Sealing, a way to keep a secret for tens of thousands of years. This is where the logic of the old world breaks. Standard history says you need a stable food supply, farming, to support the thousands of workers needed to build a temple. But there are no farms on Göbekli Tepe. No domestic wheat. No permanent houses. These were hunter-gatherers. They came from hundreds of miles away, moving through the wilderness to this specific hill. It suggests that religion, or some form of spiritual belief, came first. The need to congregate, to ritualize, to touch the divine. Perhaps that is what encouraged humanity to settle down. Those humans didn't farm to survive. They farmed to feed the people who were building the edifice to their deities. Researchers and academics began to call the civilization that toiled here the people of the dawn. They called them this because they existed at the very beginning of the Neolithic revolution, a critical transition period in human history. The imagery here is haunting. Vultures are everywhere in the carvings. To the people of the dawn, the vulture was the vehicle of the soul. They practiced what we believe to be sky burials, leaving the dead on high places for the birds to carry them into the heavens. There is a rawness to this belief. It isn't the organized, sterile religion of later eras. It's a connection to the blood, the bone, and the sky. It's visceral. I can feel that pulse again. It feels less like a memory and more like a presence. Something that should be kept in mind when thinking about the marvel that these monuments represent is the fact that the structures were created before the advent of metal tools, before pottery, before the wheel. Yet, they show high levels of engineering and geometric knowledge. Humanity is always finding ways to surprise me. Around 8000 BCE, for reasons we may never truly comprehend, the people who cared for Göbekli Tepe decided it was over. They didn't abandon it to the elements. They buried it. Every circle was meticulously filled with thousands of tons of clean soil. They preserved it like a time capsule. Was it a change in faith? A fear of what they had built? Or were they simply finished? finished with the lesson. Whatever the reason, their silence lasted for nearly 10 millennia, until people stumbled upon it and woke it up. Some hypothesize that the people of the dawn represent the final, most sophisticated hunter-gatherers, or last stand of the Paleolithic lifestyle. They were the last to utilize this site for spiritual purposes, just as the rest of the world began to adopt agricultural. With the introduction of agriculture, humanity also brought new gods into existence. It makes some sense that those who followed an earlier path, could have foreseen what the growth of a new religion and new beliefs could mean for their sacred places. Perhaps this was their way of both saying goodbye, but also fulfilling a sacred vow to ensure their gods, spirits, ancestors would not be defiled or disturbed. But these are all just suppositions. We will probably never know the truth. Even I can only glean information from the records left by others. Göbekli Tepe proves that the foundation of your world isn't stone or wheat. It's the spirit, the urge to reach out into the dark, to find a connection. The frequency is changing, my friend. As I told you in the beginning, this is the void. But what you may not have realized yet is that this, my archive, my home, is but a small portion of the void. And I, the archivist, my duty, my purpose, is to be the one who looks for the why. But in the void, there are others. More to the point, there is another who looks for the feeling, the blood, the raw, unedited truth of emotion. Is empty, but the heart is full. Come to the center. Patience. My colleague is getting restless. We have more to unbind here before the transition is complete. Go now. Look at the ancient things with new eyes. Until next time, may peace and harmony find you.